Saturday morning Krug show. Chapman is in the house. Week 3 is upon us. The home opener is less than 24 hours away. Let's go. Bright and early, off and running on a Saturday morning, 9:04 West Coast, 4 minutes afternoon back east. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California, Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We were just in New Orleans last week, courtesy of Claw Daddy Arcades, and they're a great sponsor of the Krug Show. And they're a great follow on Instagram, at Claw_Daddy_Arcades. And, of course, we are brought to you by Sleeper, and this entire 49er football season is brought to you by Sleeper, presented by Sleeper. We'll have a little Sleeper thought here in just a moment, but John Chapman is here. And, John, good to see you. Why don't you, we were both there in New Orleans last week. We got an up-close look at Niners Saints. We've now had 2 road games to look at. Give me your unfiltered Niner takeaway after watching 2 football games.
The crazy difference from 2024 to 2025. Last year, the 49ers were dead last in fourth quarter scoring and fourth quarter points allowed. This year, you go on the road twice, and you get not 1, not 2, but 3 fourth quarter stops to end the game on defense. And I think that's the difference. You're 2-0 on the road. Where else would you rather be? And man, again, 2024, you had 1 divisional win the entire season. You have the opportunity, if you're the 49ers, to surpass that win total by week 3. Like it is just completely flipped on its head. I don't think that, the 49ers are this major Super Bowl favorite like they were back in 2023, but you're handling business 1 week at a time. And this game, everything is right there for the taking. Got to go handle business.
I guess my takeaway would be, the 49ers look, I think they look a lot better on the line of scrimmage than I thought they would look on both sides of the ball. I think even though they haven't run it successfully yet, I think for the most part, I was expecting after 8 hits on Brock Purdy in week 1 that it would be jailbreak on Mac Jones in week 2, but there were many, many downs where he looked downfield and had plenty of time. So, and the Saints had 5 sacks in week 1. Is it that the Niner offensive line was good or that the Saints D-line in week 2 was bad? But I thought the 49er offensive line was a little bit better than I thought. And I thought this 49er defensive line was a lot better than I thought. Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis playing their butts off. Mikael Williams, Nick Bosa, Bryce Huff, Yatir Gross-Matos. This NASCAR third down nickel rush package they have is really, really intriguing and exciting. So that would be my takeaway, is that the 49ers on the line of scrimmage, I wasn't sure if even with Mikael and with Huff, would they be able to mount a pass rush? How good would they be up front defensively? I think they look like overpowering as a pass rush unit, and they're doing enough against the run. And then offensively, they're, it's not been perfect, but I thought it could be really bad, and instead it's better than that.
Yeah, how crazy is it that Dominic Pooney probably has been the least effective offensive lineman for the 49ers through 2 weeks? And not to say that he's been bad, but you're getting quality play from Jake Brendel. Yeah, Colton McKivitz earned his payday. And whoever's at left guard, whether that's Ben Barch, Connor Colby, or we're going to have another number 3 option this week, they've gotten the job done. And so, yes, I'm with you completely, Larry, that the 49ers offensive line has looked efficient and has looked professional, and the defensive line's getting the job done. Now, there's some manufactured pressures, whether you're bringing Upton Stout off the edge, Marquise Siegel, you're blitzing Fred Warner, but you're not overcommitting. They're 5-man pressures or 4-man pressures. You're not doing a lot of cover 0 blitzes. Steve Wilkes somewhere is upset, but you're getting the job done up front. And so if you can continue to do that, you're going to be in every single game with this defense that's led by Fred Warner, who's playing better football than probably anybody in the NFL right now.
You know, they've really looked pretty good. I'm not really sure exactly. The one thing that's a little, if you said what's the negative is that they look still very much like a one running back type team. Brian Robinson hasn't gotten off. Guerrero seems like he's banished to the bench. He seems like he's just in the doghouse, and he doesn't get any run at all. Jordan James has yet to do anything. He's been hurt. So it's like, we going to go through another year where it's CMC and nothing? I mean, they have to have somebody besides CMC running the rock.
Yeah, I think Brian Robinson's just going to take time. Like, you can tell that he struggles with the vision. He wants to cut back every single time. And so sometimes those cutbacks are great, but he is cutting back literally the first or second step on those like outside zone tosses or whatever else. And then the problem on top of that, like, cutbacks are fine, but he's killing his speed and the momentum, and he's running into his own guys. I mean, he looks like Isaac Guerrero out there. It's just not there yet. But there is a lot of yards after contact for him. It's just, can he learn the pacing and the tempo of when he's supposed to hit the hole without killing his speed? I have a lot of faith in him. It's just, man, you got to kind of stick with it. The 49ers have averaged 3.4 and 3.0 yards per carry through 2 weeks. If you do it enough times, you're going to get there. Only 26 rush attempts last week. You're 30 plus the week before. So commit to the run, stay with it. That sets up the play action. That's going to help your quarterback. And in a week, like, look, you're playing the Cardinals. You can run the ball against this team. The Cardinals just have jumped out front to 2 huge leads in back-to-back weeks to where teams have abandoned the run. You can't let the Cardinals do that. Have to stay committed. Got to keep running the ball, whether it's CMC or Brian Robinson or Kyle Juszczyk. I don't care. Hand the ball off Jake Tonches for all I care. Run the ball. Stay committed. I think you're going to start to see dividends being paid there. The next 3 weeks, you can run on all 3 of these teams if you stay committed. So I want to see some of those big explosive runs, which we haven't really had the privilege of seeing so far this season.
Yeah, we've yet to see them, get the explosive run. And when I've asked them about it this week, it's like, hey, you know what? We're getting a lot of 2-shell defenses. And when you get a lot of 2-shell defenses, you got that defender sitting there 8 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, just kind of waiting for you. And it's hard to get the explosive run. Do you buy that?
I do. So, like, whenever the teams load the boxes with those 8-9-man fronts, if you break through that first barrier, there's nobody. Well, whenever you're doing these 2 shells, which is exactly like he was 100% correct in what he said with what they're facing, you're seeing this 2 high safety look. And then even if you break through the first line and the linebackers, you still got 2 safeties that are coming in pursuit there. And so that's giving you those 7, 8, 9-yard runs, which we saw a lot of last week with the Saints. But it just makes it hard. Like, if they bring the extra man down, you're going to get a lot more 0-1-yard carries, but you're also going to get that couple of 25, 30-yard rush attempt. So it's just bringing the defense in waves and just saying, hey, can the 49ers execute all the way down the field on 10-play drives? Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. I would like them to get more efficient, but when you have a backup quarterback in, no explosive runs, and you still put up 20-plus points on the road, I think every team in the NFL would say, yeah, sign me up for that one.
It wouldn't be the Niners, John, if we didn't get to Friday and there be some injury surprise. And sure enough, we got multiple surprises. So we talked to Kyle Shanahan yesterday. He said Jordan Watkins is he's got a calf injury. He's going to be out. He's going to miss several weeks. So that's not good. Burford's got the knee. It doesn't sound like it's responding. Connor Colby hurt his groin in Thursday's practice, and he's questionable to go. If he can't go, it will be either Hennessy or Zakel stepping in at guard. Jennings has not practiced all week. Does that mean he's going to go? Not going to go? We'll see. And then Purdy, Kyle said he made progress throughout the week, and he made it seem like like there was still it was like a game time decision. And then literally in the very next sentence, he's like, it's highly unlikely that Purdy's going to start. So it's going to be Mac Jones. I don't think there's any question. When I saw Wednesday's practice, at that point, I'm like, you know what? It's Mac Jones another week. Just because Purdy didn't look comfortable putting his foot on the ground in the same manner that he did prior. And I don't know if I was the only one who noticed this, but because he couldn't get his foot on the ground, and he couldn't, his toe is obviously still causing pain. His ball sails. I mean, I saw him sail 5 or 6 balls that he would never sail in the past. So right now, I don't think he's even going to be. The question of the day tomorrow is going to be, because according to Shanahan, they're not sure if Purdy's going to be the 2 or the 3. Now, according to Shanahan, the league rules state that if the Niners want Purdy to be the emergency number 3 quarterback, that the number 2 quarterback, in this case, Adrian Martinez, would have to be promoted to the active roster and could not just be a standard elevation from the practice squad, who reverts back to the practice squad on Monday. So that means they're going to have to find a roster spot.
This is a Shanahan rule that he created after the NFC Championship. The rule states if the emergency quarterback plays for the practice squad, the number 1 and number 2 quarterback have to be removed from injury or suspension. Cannot be coach's decision.
Right.
Shanahan created this rule. And now it's just like, well, kind of got you. Because if you are going to put Brock Purdy as your number 2, and he goes out there and he doesn't feel comfortable in warmups, you cannot go to number 3. You're not allowed to. Has to be removed from an injury, a new injury, or a suspension. So, like, you might have to be putting Kyle Juszczyk back there if you do that. So you either create a spot like you're saying, Larry, or Brock Purdy's got to be able to take some snaps.
Yeah, so if the Niners want Purdy to be the number 3, they're going to have to promote Adrian Martinez to the active roster and cut somebody to create that spot. So what do you think is going to happen here? How do you think this is going to go?
I think if, Shanahan's known for these gentleman agreements. I think if you were going to do that, you would cut Curtis Robinson, who you just signed to the 53, and tell him, hey, we're going to bring you back. You activate Nick Martin, allow him to play on special teams, maybe blitz 1 or 2 times from the linebacker spot. That creates a spot. It would be one of these gentlemen's agreement. Could be MVS. Again, we're going to bring you down. We're going to pay you. We'll give you a little bit extra guaranteed. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. Somebody's going to have to be cut or waived, and it's going to be a seasoned vet that will not go through waiver claims that you could, stash. Shanahan's done this so many times. I think that's what they're going to end up doing, Larry, because if you don't, and Brock Purdy doesn't feel good, this is a divisional game. Like, something happens to your quarterback, Mac Jones, like, you're not going to have a quarterback. So you've got to have somebody there that could be that number 2 that isn't Brock Purdy, just in case. Like, it's just too much to rely this whole game on if Brock can go and if Brock can't. I just don't think that's too safe.
So you're saying Mac is the 1, Martinez is the 2?
Well, here's the thing. If you make the roster spot available for Adrian Martinez and he's on the active roster, now Brock Purdy could be the 2 if he feels good, or he could be the 3 if he doesn't, right? Does that make sense? So that gives you the flexibility to, okay, Brock, game time. Can you go? Yeah, coach, I can go. All right, we're safe. As opposed to making that choice and keeping Adrian Martinez on the practice squad, and then you get to game time. Brock, are you good? And Brock's like, no, I'm not good game time. And then you're just screwed, right? So it just gives you that insurance policy where you could have Purdy 2 or you could have Purdy 3. If Adrian stays on the practice squad, you don't have that luxury. He has to be number 2. So I think they promote Adrian Martinez, and I think they make Brock Purdy number 2. Does that make sense? I'm having my cake and eating it too. I had some King's cake down in New Orleans, so cake's on the mind.
So you're saying Purdy's the 2, Martinez gets the elevation, but he would be the 3.
Yes, that's what I think I have.
And all of it's precautionary because they're going to go with Mac the whole game, no matter what, if they can.
We should be sponsored by Geico or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. The insurance. Where's the gecko? Okay. There's other injury concerns in this game. Trent Williams did not practice this week that I saw. Now, I was told that after I left practice yesterday, they trotted Trent out of the weight room and he did practice. But he didn't practice when I was there. I didn't see him practice all week. So, what do you think? Does Trent go? And then the other one is Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings has an ankle injury. Jawan Jennings also has a shoulder injury. He did not practice all week. And I kind of wonder if that's part of the new JJ agreement is that, hey, JJ, don't hold out. Come in. We'll give you this little bump. You're still a free agent in March. And then his guy says, you know what? Our biggest thing is we got to have JJ healthy in March. So, we're concerned about JJ practicing throughout the year. All right, no problem. Hey, do what he wants. If he doesn't want to practice, don't practice. We don't care. He's a money player. He shows up on game day. As long as he shows up on game day, we're okay with that. What do you think? Do you think there's a possibility? Because he's got an ankle and a shoulder, and he hasn't practiced all week. Most of the time, that's an indication that he isn't going to go. Like JJ's not going to play. But I kind of think that that's not the case. I kind of feel like his ankle and his shoulder and the fact that he didn't practice all week does not preclude him from playing on Sunday. How do you read that?
I agree with you. He's playing. The problem is he needs practice time. You could have put the game on ice twice on offense, on third downs, passes to JJ off of his hands. One of them would have been an amazing catch. Not really his fault. He didn't come down with it. But the second one, that little slant route from Mac Jones, like he needs to be practicing to be meshed up with the backup quarterback. He obviously wasn't. Yeah, he led the team in targets, receptions, receiving yards, touchdown. I get that. But man, you should not have had to rely on your defense either time. If Jawan Jennings comes down with one of those two catches, he dropped them both. Not saying he had a bad game or he wasn't efficient, but I'm saying he needs the practice time. I do think he's banged up, and I think a lot of that is because he didn't practice all offseason. He's not in football shape. He gets rerouted week one and gets injured with a shoulder contact that I've seen JJ hit people 100 times harder, 100 times. Like, this guy needs to practice, but you got to have him healthy. And this is kind of the last week you're in dire straits at wide receiver. Demarcus Robinson returns to the lineup next week. That's going to be huge. KB has another week of practice under his belt. That's huge. So I do think Jawan Jennings is going to play. I do think he'll be the wide receiver one. But you're kind of just like, hey, we're just piecing this together. Like duct tape is what this wide receiver core is right now. You've got Ricky Pearsall, which Ricky Pearsall didn't seem to be on the same page as Mac Jones either last week. There were some miscommunications there on those routes, but they have practiced together all week. Kendrick Bourne has practiced all week. So I think that will help, but JJ's still the clear number one. I think that he goes. If I'm JJ's agent, if I'm JJ, this game is circled on my calendar because remember, he got ejected week 18 against the Cardinals.
That's right.
And that stopped him from that 1,000-yard, season. So I think he's going to perform. I do wish he would have practiced this week, but I do think he is banged up.
It is interesting. We got this one from Alec Parker. He says, when did Larry become such a conspiracy theorist? I guess John is too, because we both think that JJ is going to play this week, despite the fact that he didn't practice all week. I'm just saying that it's not a conspiracy theory. I think it just makes sense that Rosenhaus wants JJ in one piece, and anything that will get him in one piece in March, he's all about. He can't have Jennings hurt in March because then he loses his big payday potentially. So it's not like they're kind of interested in having him be healthy. They're absolutely passionate about having him stay healthy. And so it wouldn't surprise me at all if they said, hey, look, one of the conditions of him coming back is he's going to practice when he wants to practice. Period. End of story. If you're cool with that, let's go.
Well, they do the same thing with Trent, CMC, and Bosa. They do the same thing with those seasoned vets that are there. The anomaly is Fred Warner, who refuses to miss a practice ever. But like the Niners do this with their vets, and they give them vet treatments. And so, why can't he be one of those guys? I don't know.
I mean, if we're not saying conspiracy theories, it's just think outside the box. If we just thought inside the box, Jawan Jennings isn't playing. He didn't practice all week. He's got multiple injuries. So if you're just thinking inside the box, you're just like, well, he didn't play. He didn't practice all week. If you don't practice, you don't play, unless your name's Trent Williams. And so JJ's not going to play. But John and I both think he is going to play. So is it a conspiracy theory or is it an educated guess? We'll see. We'll find out tomorrow. But thank you, Alec Parker, for that.
Like the picture. He's out there fly fishing. I'm down. I'm down.
Do what you got to do. Say what you got to say. All right. We are brought to you. This 49er football season is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chats, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use the promo code Larry, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. John, I'm just simply going to ask you for our Sleeper segment today. You're and maybe we'll put this up there. People, there we go. We got the
code Larry. I like that.
Look at that. Code Larry. You save $100 deposit. They will match your $100 up to, or they'll match you up to $100. And big thanks to Sleeper. But without me leading you in any direction, we won't do a Sleeper lineup in this stream. But give me the player in this game and the prop in this game that you would want to wager on. Is there, is there a player that you like their, receptions or yardage or rushing totals or receiving totals or passing totals or on either side, Niners or Cardinals? Do you have a conviction of any kind on a daily fantasy player this week?
Yeah, I think until the lines adjust to Christian McCaffrey's wide receiver usage, I think those are double. I'm smashing Christian McCaffrey over 4.5 receptions. I'm smashing Christian McCaffrey over 36.5 receiving yards. He is the number 2 wide receiver on this team. And they go to him in the red zone. They go to him on 3rd and long. They go to him on 1st down. And until you get Ayuk, Demarcus Robinson, a healthy JJ in practice, that's going to continue. So the safest bets this week I would go with, it would be Christian McCaffrey over on receiving or receptions and receiving yards. And if you want to throw in Pearsall, I think receiving yards over receptions for Pearsall, but I think that he's going to cover that as well.
I kind of like the one that stands out to me is the Kyler Murray rush yards. Kyler Murray busted the Niners for a 50-yard run, and I looked it up. Kyler Murray against the 49ers is averaging over 52 yards rushing per game, per contest. And the rush total for Kyler Murray is in the 30s. So I like Kyler over the rushing yards in this game. So let's get to the game itself. What do you think? Let's talk about some keys to victory for the 49ers. And we'll just go back and forth because I put together a list. I have 10 or so keys to victory for the 49ers. And the number one on my list is how do the 49ers rush Kyler? They need a well-coordinated 4-man rush where they don't play tons of stunting games up front, even though they're good at it and they like to do it. Because stunts and twists can sometimes give quarterbacks like Murray a very well-defined and large rush lane. And I don't want to give him that. No obvious rush lanes for Kyler because he will take it. And unlike, most quarterbacks who will bust you for 10, 12 yards and it's a first down, you give this guy an obvious rush lane and he'll put a house call on you. He will score. So that's my number one key, a well-coordinated 4-man rush that is working in concert with one another. I know that's always the goal, but it's not always the way it happens. And oftentimes, especially if you play a lot of stunting games, there's all kinds of run room and lanes. To me, this is how you rush this guy with your 4 and how well you keep him. It's the old, here's the pocket, and you just got to keep him in there and you got to squeeze it down. That to me is the number one key.
Yeah. I have in my notes, I don't really care about sacks this week. Obviously, anytime the 49ers get a sack, that's gigantic. But if you can force Kyler to beat you in the pocket with his arm, which he's proven not really his forte, right? So you got to get out of the pocket. Then he makes those crazy plays. Keep him in there and make him be a pocket passer. Turn this guy into a pocket passer and good things are going to happen. Now, the one thing that is unique about the 49ers that the Cardinals don't see is when they go NASCAR on their blitz packaging, there are 4 defensive ends. Defensive ends are faster and more mobile than defensive tackles. So you're going to have a lot more athleticism out there on that defensive line in pursuit and all those things. And, Yetur Gross-Matos, one of my biggest critiques of him throughout his career is dude's played rather lazy and doesn't play with a lot of high-end upside energy, chasing plays once after the initial 3 seconds. Last week for the Saints, Yetur 94 was flying around. And I was just like, whoa, who's this guy? So if Mikael Williams and Yetur Gross-Matos from the inside can have that relentless energy, I think that's going to pay dividends, and maybe you can knock those. Kyler's going to scramble. He's going to get rush yards at different points. But if instead of getting 10, 11-yard scrambles, he gets 5 or 6, that is just the thing. Like, just tamper it down a little bit and just kind of calm that down to where it's not game-changing. Having those 4 defensive ends out there in that NASCAR package is going to be huge because the speed and athleticism to run around and chase Kyler is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, no, I like that. I was looking at some of the blitz numbers through the first 2 weeks. The Niners have blitzed a little bit over 21% of the time. It's mostly 5-man blitzes, but there's some 6-man rushes in there as well. But they went with 4, roughly 78% of the time. And they're blitzing, to about 21%. Now that's up quite a bit from Robert Saleh's first, tenure here, first stint here. But the line he has is different, and the talent he has is different. He probably will send some 5 and 6-man pressures at Kyler. And to me, I think the key with this is, try to get Kyler on the ground with smaller bodies, corner blitzes, Upton Stout, safety blitzes, Tig, Brown, go at him with, D Winters, go at him with smaller guys. I think that's the better way to do it. I think the 49ers would, why is Kyler won 3 in a row against the Niners? I think part of the reason is that the 49ers, because of their desire to have an edge setting presence at defensive end, they keep going for these big, strong, edge setting guys. And they did it again this year with Mikael, right? Mikael is one of the biggest, strongest edge setting defensive ends in the game. He throws away tight ends like they're tissue paper. He looks awesome. But can he break down in space against a super athletic, tiny guy like Kyler and bring him to the ground? And can he do it consistently? That's where I think that what I've seen is that kind of from the Russell Wilson experience, if you send a corner, even though, it doesn't look quite as daunting as a bigger player, I think the corner has a better chance of getting, Russell on the ground, and in this case, Kyler. So I think that if you do send extra bodies at Kyler, and I think you probably have to at least some of the time in this game, I'd like to see them blitz their DBs.
Yeah, and we saw that, last week. And so you talked about how bringing 4, that's kind of what the Niners do, but they get creative with it. Because, you had Nick Bosa dropping in coverage. You had Bryce Huff dropping in coverage, but you blitzed D Winters. You blitzed Upton Stout. Upton Stout went 4 times last week, pass rush. Now, I am concerned about the rookie because he gave up the outside to Spencer Rattler twice. Can he keep that outside contained and force Kyler to step up instead of rolling out? That's what Kyler wants to do. So, yeah, I'm with you. I want Marquise Siegel blitzing because he's such a damn good tackler and a little suspect in coverage. So, let's help that out. I don't want Marquise Siegel guarding their tight end, Trey McBride, really at all. It's going to have to happen because of the motions and kind of how offenses can offset that. But, yeah, I'm with you. Blitz D Winters, Fred Warner, Upton Stout, Marquise Siegel, Jason Pinnock. You want to bring Demo or Renato Green on an outside corner blitz some? Cool. Like I love that. So get creative, which Robert Saleh's been more creative in 2 games than the 4 years we saw of him in his last stint here. This ain't the same Bob Saleh. Let's just be very honest. He is putting some creative looks out there, and hopefully that continues this week.
Yeah, they're not, sitting there in cover 3 and, rushing 4 and never blitzing. And, it's like the same thing over and over. There, he looks quite a bit different. He's adapted, and he's probably needed to based on the talent that the Niners have and also just league-wide trends. I think another team. Go ahead.
I'm so. Did you see Kyler Murray's remarks where he's like, "Oh, we know who they are. We know what they do. We know what this game's going to be." If I'm Robert Saleh, I'm like, "Bro, I ain't been there in 4 years. So don't act like you know me. Like, so I'm taking that personal if I'm Robert Saleh, and I'm just like, guess what? We'll see. We'll see if you know what's coming. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, and don't, you're Kyler Murray. Don't pretend like you have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. But we'll see. Maybe he does. We'll find out on Sunday. I think the one key as well is obviously taking away their run game. Benson's the explosive back. Connor, to me, looks a little long in the tooth. But you got to go low on these guys. You got to wrap these guys. You got to bring more than one body to James Conner and Trey Benson. Otherwise, they'll run through you. This is a powerful combo, probably the most powerful combo the Niners have faced thus far this year. So I think that's a big key. And then offensively, I think it's really key for Mac Jones. I mean, you could say this every week, but take care of the ball. I mean, why did Mac Jones have success in New Orleans? Well, because he got away with his bad passes and he didn't throw any interceptions and he only had the one turnover. If Mac gets through this game and we watch all 4 quarters and he's only committed one turnover, the Niners are going to win. Mm-hmm. But there's always the potential when Budda Baker's out there. They got some pretty good young players on their defense. There's no question that Gannon will throw some wrinkles at them. He's not just going to sit back and just, be vanilla.
Early. So, he always gambles early in games.
He does.
That's his trends.
He does. He'll go for it on 4th down. He'll do something. He'll go for a kick block, a fake punt. It's almost like he knows, okay, I've got to steal a possession against these guys to win on the road. So so he's aggressively seeking that extra possession, generally in the first half.
Yeah, they've jumped out to huge leads back-to-back weeks. The funny thing is they have been outscored 16-3 in the 4th quarter in these 2 games. The Niners are the exact opposite, right? Like, the Niners have shown they have the grit and they can play throughout the entirety of the game. The Cardinals are front runners. They jump up early. I mean, they were up 27-3 last week in the second half and still almost lost. So if the Niners can keep it close early, which with Kyle Shanahan and his 20 scripted plays, I don't care who the heck quarterback is. It could be you, me, or Kev out there at quarterback. Kyle Shanahan's going to have success in the scripted plays. Now, if you could just keep pace early, if this game is within a possession at the half, the 49ers are going to win it. The way that this gets out of control is if they do jump ahead early, you abandon the running game, which we've seen Kyle do in the past whenever he's behind by more than a touchdown. That is the pathway. Like, if you ask me, man, the Cardinals won this game, John. How did they do it? Jumped out to an early lead. Kyle abandoned the run. You went pass heavy, and things got out of control. That is the pathway to, man, the Cardinals are in first place of the NFC West after this week. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the 49ers have a better coaching staff and a better roster. But when you have a backup quarterback playing in the NFL, things get kind of weird. And I have all the faith in Mac Jones. And I've said repeatedly, we've talked about this. I think Mac Jones is the best quarterback, too, we've had since Kyle Shanahan showed up. I've said that all through training camp, preseason, and now after, just one game, he runs the system. He stays efficient with it. And if he can not be bad early like he was in New Orleans, I think the 49ers should come out on top.
You think he's better than Darnold?
I think that he ran this system. Darnold with the 49ers or Mac Jones with the 49ers, I'm taking Mac Jones. Sam Darnold wasn't good when he was with us.
Yeah, I think he's better, period. Whether with or without, I think Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. I think Darnold has always turned it over way, way too much. And I don't think he quite has the level of dedication that Jones did. And Jones does. And when I say that, one of the things that was real obvious in this last game is that Jones really worked at perfecting every single play. I thought his footwork on the short game was on point. His play fakes on the play action game were on point. Really on point, like veteran, one on the naked boot touchdown to Farrell on the handoff. He goes 2 hands, then he goes 1 hand, and he holds the ball. He hides the ball, and then he stared at his handoff hand like a good 1 count as he's got an unblocked defender 3 yards away. But as he bootlegs back and turned his back on the defense, that defender never got him because he froze him with the play fake. And then Mac had the footwork and the presence of mind he had a 3-on-2 there, and he found, one of the defenders. He had 3 offensive players. He had 2 defenders. He found Farrell for the nice pitch and catch bootleg touchdown. I thought it was a beautiful play fake, and it was that kind of thing that I thought Sam Darnold would do, but he wouldn't do it quite as well. And to me, that shows the level of film preparation and study for Jones. We should tell people big thanks to Sleeper. Remember, use code Larry for 100% deposit match up to $100. Links right in the description. Terms apply. Help support the show and gets you rolling on the #1 sports app in the country, Sleeper. All right. How important is it going to be to help Colton McKivitz and Trent Williams? Williams comes into this game having not practiced. He's got a knee bruise that's very painful. He's coming off of a very, very good performance against the Saints. But now here's Baron Browning and Josh Sweat. And Browning is an undersized converted linebacker who's got a ton of speed. And Josh Sweat is one of the best young defensive ends in the game. And this duo has produced 19 pressures in the first 2 games. So what do you think? Can McKivitz and Trent stand up on an island against these guys, or are the Niners going to have to use backs and chip them consistently?
One of my favorite things, and people always say like statements that I don't think make sense, where they'll say something like, well, Kyle Shanahan doesn't adapt or evolve. And I'm just like, man, you're not watching tape. You're not watching the tape. Like, he has condensed splits consistently and forcing that outside release with the tight ends around the defensive end or outside backer to where you are kind of pinning in these speed rushers to Colton McKivitz and Trent Williams. This is a relatively new, it's happened in the past in Shanahan, but the frequency through 2 weeks, never seen this. And I've watched every single play since Kyle Shanahan's been hired here. So there are adaptations. I mean, you had George Kittle out, Kyle Juszczyk gets injured in 10 plays, and they're still running 13 personnel, which means 1 back, 3 tight ends. And the way in which the alignment of those tight ends is helping, it's not a true chip, it's an outside release. So, like, basically, if you're Braden Willis, who did this a few times, like, okay, you line him up right next to Colton McKivitz, and there's a pass rusher on the outside and kind of a wide 9. He's going to release on his route flat so that outside edge rusher comes in. Don't even have to make contact with them. You're just creating brackets to not allow the speed rusher around Colton McKivitz, which I think you're going to see a lot of again. So it's just complimentary. Look, we're going to slow him down a little bit. And I think that's a big reason. You knew with Mac Jones, he's not going to have the escapability of Brock Purdy if there's pressure. So you're committing more guys to helping your 5 offensive linemen do their job. And it worked really, really well against the Saints. So I expect a lot more of that. I'm not concerned about McKivitz and Trent Williams as much. I'm concerned about that left guard spot. I'm concerned about that left guard next to Jake Brendel, who's played great, but he's had great left guard play. How's Jake Brendel going to look whenever he has subpar left guard play with Nick Sikel or, who knows, Drew Moss? Maybe they step in and crush it. My big concern is that left A gap in pass protection, Larry.
Why's that?
Just because the guard turnover, right? Can Drew Moss or Nick Sikel, how are they going to hold up in pass pro? And can Jake Brendel make sure that the calls are being made so that they know what to do all the time? Not worried about the outside. I'm worried about that interior pressure on that left offensive side. That's what I'm most concerned about.
What have I told you that Connor Colby's going to play?
Yeah, you said I would be happy as hell.
Yeah, I just think when you look at a guy, he's questionable to play. But when you look at a guy played 50 career snaps at Iowa, career starts, 50.
Jeez.
So are you telling me he never had a ding or, he was never 50-50 and he just went? I think he's going to go. That would be my
so
guess.
Happy.
My guess is Connor Colby finds a way to get out there and go. That is just a guess. I have no sources. That is my guess.
You're my source, Larry. Come on, man. You're my source.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't have any sources. But I'm just telling you, that's my guess is that Connor Colby is going to go. All right, let's finish up with this, our Habas Law Player Spotlight, brought to you by Habas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. I'm a big fan of Habas Law, and this segment is sponsored by Habas Law. For more than 40 years, Omar Habas and his son Tarek have been standing up for people right here in Northern California. They're great attorneys. So if you need someone in your corner, call the firm insurance companies are hoping you never call. Habas Law. They will fight to make it right. Visit their website, habaslaw.com, HABBAS law.com. And Habas 1-800-INJURED is their phone number as well. They will fight to make it right. Thanks to Habas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. I want to share the screen and show you, because to me, the guy, there's a lot of talk about a lot of different Niners. The guy who I'm really excited about the most is Alfred Collins. And I talked to Big AC at his locker yesterday, and I credited him. I'm like, man, you got so much better from game 1 to game 2. This is a little bit of a film, I believe, of Collins, maybe even a little McKell here. But there's Collins. I just thought he was so much more active. Robert Saleh said this was he was worlds better. I mean, look at the movement. Look at the footwork. Look at this guy. Keep coming. Look, he's keep moving. There were times, John, this summer where I'm standing there and it's, I'm sweating and Chris Kaceric's yelling and Collins is doing a rep and you hear Chris go, keep your legs moving. Keep moving. He's just screaming at the top of his lungs. And this guy he wants to be good. He's gotten with Nick Bosa about his diet and he's got a good example there, a good template for success. We'll call it that. You see it in practice, John. If I'm going to be your eyes and ears at practice, Bosa will have an amazing rep, and then then McKell or Collins will have a rep, or West, and then all of a sudden you'll see Bosa on the side kind of taking them aside while other guys are getting reps and showing them, hey, you want to put your hand here. You want to then put your other arm there. You want to, and showing them the moves and then telling them, walk through it. Now putting his hand on his shoulder and showing these guys the techniques. So you're getting a lot of that, but you're a Texas fan. So you know all about Alfred Collins. I was very leery of the pick because he's just the biggest, strongest guy. And I thought maybe he was a big marshmallow. I thought maybe there was a chance he was a big Kinlaw where he's just a run defender only and no movement ability, no second level ability. Then we saw some of those highlights where he kicks out of the club. He's got his back to the play in the early stuff in preseason. And you're sitting there going, whoa. And then you got Niner fans who are just, instantly like, this guy can't play. Like, that was some of the instant early reaction. This guy can't play. Saleh talked him up this week, said it was his best game. Here's some of the highlights of it, courtesy of Kyle Posey on Niners Nation to put this out on Twitter.
Shout out to KP. He's one of the best, man.
He is one of the best. And we got to get him on the Krug Show too. He's fantastic. What do you think? What did you think of Collins? Give me your breakdown on Alfred Collins.
I thought he was the second best defensive tackle the 49ers had. I thought Kalia Davis had a rough outing, if I'm going to be honest, but Jordan Elliott played well. And I think eventually it's only a matter of time till he becomes a starter. But my two favorite things, being a Longhorn fan and watching this guy play for 5 seasons, he shows up in the biggest plays of the game, third and short, fourth and short, fourth quarter. That's when he's at his best, and he never stops running. He had 2 plays where he hustled outside the numbers and over pursued the ball carrier like that. Like he ran over the top of him. Like he is an all-out effort guy, and he's the biggest dude on the field. So it's just a matter of time. I'm glad you've come around, Larry. That makes me happy. I like it when we're in agreement. Whenever I disagree with somebody, I'm like, maybe I need to go back and look at my notes and rethink it a little bit. But the fact that Alfred Collins, you're getting quality snaps, it's only week 2. He changed schemes. He was a 2-gap run defender at Texas. Right. And Chris Kusarek don't do that. And so it's different, and he's already catching on.
Yeah. I mean, and just talking to him, he wants to be good. He really wants to be good. So he takes coaching well. You don't see guys improve this much, this fast if they don't take coaching well.
Yeah, and people forget he's the guy that crossed the picket line of all those second-round picks. He jumped out of turn to sign with the Niners. And people were giving him flat.
He wanted to be there.
He jumped 8 second-round picks to get the deal done first when no deals had been done in 2 months straight. He was the first one. Went out of turn because he did not want to miss a practice. Like the commitment that you talk about, he gave up money to be the guy. I'm not missing a practice. I'm not missing a practice. And so people were literally critiquing him for not getting his deal done when he's the first second rounder to say, no, I'm not missing time. We're playing. the commitment, the intelligence, the technique. It's just a matter of time because he has all the physical tools in the world.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks to Habas Law, by the way. They will fight to make it right. Visit their website, habaslaw.com on the web, 1-800-INJURED. Thanks to Omar and Tarek Habas for being proud sponsors of the Krug Show. All right, John, this is it. Let's we'll call it right here, but give me your prediction. What's the final score of Niners Cardinals? And tell people what you got going on game day. If we got a lot of people who jump in and out of these things, and sometimes they're seeing me or you for the very first time. Tell them what you're doing on game day.
Yeah, we go live every single day. 49ers Rush, YouTube, podcast, wherever you get your content. We'll be live right after the show. We do a therapy session if they lose. We do a celebration if they win. And so we will talk you off the ledge or we will hype you up, whatever accordingly with the 49ers, what they got going on. So just come join us. And, man, my score prediction, I think it's going to be close. Divisional games are tough early in the season. You saw it just Thursday night. Should have been a blowout, but the Dolphins show up. I've got the 49ers winning 23-20. Low scoring game under the under. But I do have the 49ers winning. Whoever the hell the quarterback is, I think it's going to be Mac Jones throwing for at least 2 touchdowns.
I like that. I'm going to go 24-17.
Ooh.
A little bit closer. I think it's going to be like a 10-point game, and then the Cardinals get a late score to make it a little closer. But, yeah, I'm going to go 24-17 49ers. Let's hit 3 supers, and we'll bolt for the door. Strawberry Reacts has got a 20 spot for you, John. He says, putting your franchise quarterback as the number 2 is the worst thing to do. Either he's healthy enough to start or he's inactive. If they put him as the backup, the organization is telling you they don't believe in him. No.
I disagree with that. I like Strawberry's takes a lot of times. I would disagree with this one. You've got to game day and how the foot reacts, and if you can't plant, that's what that is. But again, we've seen what happens when Christian McCaffrey's at quarterback. Nobody wants to see that again.
I will say this, Strawberry. I think you're right from the standpoint of I think the Niners aren't going to do that. I don't think the Niners are going to put Purdy as the number 2. Anthony Catania is in the house. He says, love the show. There's something special about this team. Go Niners. I kind of agree with Anthony there. I do get the special vibe off this team. There is a vibe about coming from Saleh, coming from Gus Bradley, coming from the young defenders. There's a kinship and a friendship. But with a lot of these young defensive players, I get the vibe. I get a good vibe off this team for sure. And also Anthony, by the way, is one of our sponsors. Check out Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Anthony's at 831-521-5264, and he's a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram, as the kids like to say. Slavic Niners says, you guys have the best content. Great collab. I'll be at the game tomorrow. Let's go Niners.
Love it, man. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words.
Thank you, man. Seriously, you got a lot of options in the Niner content creation world, and the fact that you're here speaks volumes. John Kalua says, is this the best version of CMC we're going to see? Or is he still getting his legs back? Still a great running back, but does not look like the 2023 CMC. Nobody's – I'm not the 2022 Larry Krueger. You're not the 2020 John Kalua. I mean, we're all shadows of what we used to be. No, I'm just joking. John, you're the same you've always been, especially with those shades. No, what do you think? Give me your quick thought on CMC and where he stands.
I think he's like an 8.3 of that 2023. But that might have been one of the better running back seasons in NFL history. So, if he could stay at this level throughout the entirety of this season, I'm taking that right now. If you told me CMC stays the exact same as what he is right now for all 17 games this year, I'm taking it. Sign me up right now. I'm so happy with that.
That's going to do it for us. 8 minutes from now, you're going to hear me on the radio. It's a miraculous transition from YouTube to the radio. How I'm going to go from one area to another area is an amazing. I'll just hit a button, but I'll be over there. Catch me on KMBR from 10 to 11 for 49er forecast as we look more into this matchup, getting closer to kickoff. And Johnny, you got anything going on Saturday? A little high school ball, a little college ball, a little family time?
A lot of college ball, family time. Going to make it to church this Sunday. I'm not traveling, and then I'll be able to catch the Niners game. I'm behaving, Larry. After New Orleans, I need some of that.
Dude, that is a sweet hat, by the way. I love the faithful hat. That is a sweet lid. For John Chapman, I'm Larry Krueger. Hit like and subscribe on both channels. Thanks to our sponsors. Links are in the description for all of our sponsors. Thanks to John. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.